25, 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room is now open. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for January 21st.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And there's a new public hearing for 124 Bryant Street, and I'll read that in. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 MGL, as amended, in the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw, in rules and regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, through both remote participation and in person on February 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation seeking confirmation of wetland resources identified under the Wetland Protection Act. So that'll be up.
That's Steve.
Borrow your easel if I may, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing Charlie Macy from CLM Development. As you just read, we just have a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the property on Bryant Street. I've got it shown here. It's been flagged. It was flagged back late summer. I've got it located, shown in the plan, just looking for the commission to verify the wetlands line, kind of as the first step in planning a future development. Once we get the wetlands established and verified, then we can start working on some future plans. But until that's done, everything's kind of up in the air. So just looking for the commission to review the line as flagged. It was flagged by Ken Thompson from 5 Wetlands.
And that little jug that goes into that lot area that was Lauren Hall's house, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so is that part of everything too? Is that gonna be part of it?
Right here, was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they gonna is that a separate,
It's a separate lot on South Street.
so that's not gonna be part of like an access road coming in?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Nope.
Did you go out?
So my comment's gonna be that right now it's gonna be a little tough to verify the delineation line. If it thaws and it clears up, I can get out, but my recommendation at this point is gonna be, we opened the hearing, and I would recommend continuing it until the March 18th meeting.
We'll see what happens.
Right, see what happens,
Like
hopefully.
the old days, we
It's
never did
frozen.
anything. Yeah, we never did anything.
Did you do it recently?
No, last summer.
It was flagged way back in
Okay.
August, I believe.
All right,
So,
yeah.
just on it, it took us that long to go through. There was some meetings with the town, and then just to get it surveyed and get the plan. So,
Right.
but,
So all the flags are out there?
last time we were there, they were all out there. Yeah.
Everything's frozen. They should be able to walk out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, unfortunately, if it was last winter,
That's
wouldn't have been a
what it is.
problem.
Yeah. It's the way it always was. Nothing got done in the winter, but the last few years we've been spoiled with soft ground and no snow. But now it's just difficult. So we certainly will, obviously, we'll continue and hope that it thaws and there's no more snow between now and then.
Now, I don't know if this is something you can answer or not, but out of that, how many acres is that? They figure
The total is it's 23 acres.
23 acres. Out of that 23, how much do you figure it's wetlands? Just from that, I don't know if you can tell or
Probably
not.
a little more. Well, probably half.
Half.
Probably
Okay.
half.
Yeah, I'd say half. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I mean, obviously, it splits it right down there. There's, a larger wetland there, a little bit of a wetlands crossing across the middle of it.
Now, are they going to be looking to maybe possibly cross over that little wetland to go to the other half, the bottom?
It's a little tricky with the subdivision regs. Only allow a certain dead-end road and a certain number of lots on the dead-end road. So,
I mean, because that's not going to be considered under. Oh, I don't know if that's.
well, I mean, they eventually could have 5,000 square feet of replication
Of
area,
replication,
and then you
yeah.
have to put the cul-de-sac.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I said,
I don't think he intended, initially anyway, of
Yeah.
not going down there.
I think the subdivision regs are I think in this case, gonna be more restrictive than your wetland regs.
Mhm.
You know, I think the dead end road and the number of lots, I forget if it's 8 lots or 10 lots on a dead end road, but I think those are gonna be the more of a limiting factor than the wetlands are gonna be. So, I don't think there's much of a chance to get a cul-de-sac back there.
I'd like to see that be not touched, but just didn't know that was something we could possibly not do, or sounds like we might not even have to worry about it. So,
You might not have to make that decision.
okay.
Yeah.
What area are you talking about not to touch?
See right here.
This
where it
Right
is,
there.
lower area down here.
Okay.
Right now, the farm road, we'll call it, comes in and there's a wetlands crossing right through there.
I didn't know if they
A
were
culvert
looking
into,
past over there.
to get to the field in the back, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody here got any questions on this?
Could you show us Bryant Street and 124 on the map? Sorry, it's a little distant from me here.
It is, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
124 is right in the middle.
All right, great. So to the left of 124, there's a keyway of the lot.
Yep.
Sorry, to the left. Right. And on the map, lower than that, it looks like there's a wetland indicated. Is that what I'm seeing, those dash lines?
Over in this area.
Right, okay, so
Yep.
at that keyway, there is a waterway that goes under Bryant Street, across the street onto 137, between 137 and 140, I think it is, and then heads to 2 galleries that empty into the town river. And I don't see that on the map, and I wonder why there isn't an indication of that water handling system. And that portion, that keyway is frequently flooded this time of year.
And I can tell you, I did do some research, because I did have an abutter call with a question about that. And I cannot find any deed reference to any recorded easements for that drainage system. So it's probably one of these that we have a lot of in town that were
Yeah.
built in the 40s, 50s, just, hey, do you mind if we do this? And it gets done.
Well, it was remediated by the town within the last 20 years.
Right, I do have a question out to DPW to find out, because I was told that there was a collapse on the side of the road, and they
Yes.
came and, one person told me they just filled it in and patched it and covered it over. If that's the case, then that drainage system may not be working because it's a collapsed pipe that would be a clay pipe probably, and it doesn't connect all the way down to the town river or to the dry wells that are on the property. So either way, they'll have to deal with the drainage. If there's a subdivision road that goes in somewhere, they'll have to help.
In the future, to do a subdivision, we have to handle our own water on our property.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to discharge anything out onto Bryant Street.
The reason I'm asking is that the notice that was received indicated that the wetlands may be moved. And so since I don't see wetland indicated on that keyway, it tells me that that's not being considered for movement.
Yeah, I think the notice, it's kind of a generic notice, it says wetlands, for work in the buffer zones, wetland may be altered, filled, that's certainly not what we're looking to do here. It's kind of a generic notice that lists everything that could possibly come under the commission's jurisdiction. So for now, we're just looking to get these flags located. In fact, if they did approve it, they typically would specify that it's just the wetlands that are shown on the plan. So, if in fact there was a wetland over here that we didn't miss, it doesn't mean that we got away with one. It just means they're just approving what's shown on the plan.
Yeah,
So
but
is there a way that an abutter can require that issue be officially reviewed? Would that be by you, Mr. Hay, as the agent, or someone else? How do we make sure that land that the residents know is commonly flooded get taken care of?
So if,
So the drainage that we're talking about is across the street?
It goes under the street
Yeah.
into 2 galleys behind 137 and then onto, it's probably 5 Arch Street.
Okay,
There's another
yeah.
galley before it gets to the
Yeah.
river. Yeah.
So, without having all the facts, obviously, I would, more than likely, it's not a wetland, it's a drainage, a town drainage issue.
Right, well, what the concern is by the abutter is that something happens so that there's no longer draining and all that water ends up on 137
Sure.
or 146
Yep.
or whichever
Yep,
street.
no,
on
I
Arch
understand.
Street. Yeah, so we don't want wet basements if we don't have them already.
No question, I agree. So, my first comment, I guess, would, again, when we do the subdivision, we've got to make sure we keep all our water on our property, that we don't discharge out onto Bryant.
nothing against you
Sure,
and what
no,
you're
understood.
doing, but my question is to the town, and that
Yeah.
is, does the town have a responsibility to make sure this water is handled properly? Or is it someone else? I just wanna know who I
It,
can
it
say this.
falls to the DPW at this point,
If
because
on-
it's a
if
town drainage
if it's a
system.
drain, yeah.
And,
If it's a
and
drain
granted-
for the road, yeah.
Mhm.
right,
Definitely, yeah.
it's a road runoff issue, and if the town can find a legal right to drain it through those properties, then it can, and if it can't, then they have to come up with an alternative way to deal
Okay.
with where that drainage and the runoff goes
All
to.
right, and would that be addressed in a future meeting on a future map, since I don't see it on this one?
To be honest, I don't think it would be,
Not for the town.
yeah, I don't think it's our,
It's not for the town, it wouldn't be.
Right, it would be that the road runoff would be dealt with through
By
the
the-
town itself. The only thing they can do is, depending on where they put the entrance, if there is an old drainage pipe and it had to be relocated, that would be part of this process.
Okay,
But,
is the entrance indicated there or not determined yet?
again, it's kind of the first step. Once we get the wetlands locked in, then we can start doing some subdivision sketches. So, I mean, obviously, it's gotta fall somewhere in that area of 124 Bryant, but I don't think
Right.
there's been a decision as to,
Okay.
on the left side of the house, right side of the house, anything like that at this point.
And forgive me, I'm new to this kind of process, but what's the next step? When could I expect to learn more about the wetland and the remediation?
Well, I think as the agent said, for him to verify the line, he's gotta get out there and dig, basically use his auger to get into the
Right.
ground, so,
Yeah.
you know, a week or a month or 3 months, depending on the weather.
So will there be another public notice?
you won't get another one sent to you. That's why we were discussing continuing this hearing until the March 18th meeting date. So that would be the next meeting.
Great.
I would say contact me in the office a day or two before, and I
Okay.
should know if I'm able to get out there and we have any information. If it still looks like it does outside now, then
Put it off.
yeah, it's definitely gonna be continued. If the ground's still frozen with frost and we can't dig in it, then.
And then as far as, you know, future plans and future work, it's gotta come, once a subdivision was decided on and laid out, it's gotta come back before the Conservation Commission, it's gotta go to planning board. They were all public hearings with separate public notices, butter notifications get sent out, so there's
Okay.
plenty of more meetings to come.
I understand the development, and that's, normal course of activities, but it's really the water handling that would have
Yeah.
a direct impact on the butters, so
Sure.
that's why I'm asking. Thank you very much for your time.
Not an uncommon concern when building
In a
around
town
here.
called West Bridgewater.
That's right.
Well, and all these fields have been back in, like you said, 40 years, 50
Right, I mean,
years ago.
at least the
They're
30s
all
or 40s.
farmland, you could just do whatever you wanted to do, and sometimes now, up to date, you find all these old drains, and
Right.
either they're clogged and not working right, or somehow,
Well,
that-
we happen to have 50 years' experience at that street, so we have some local.
Sure,
Sure.
sure.
anybody else? Any questions? All set?
Thank you.
I'll
Just continue?
recommend continuing till March 18th.
All right, entertain a motion to continue to March 18th.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
See you then.
Thank you, folks.
Hopefully something will get done. If not,
Thank you, Tim.
I'll be right back.
the next one is 506, continued public hearing for West Center Street.
And I received an email today requesting continuance till March 18th meeting. They hopefully will have new plans beginning of March so that we can start our review and send them out to 53G to have them check the changes as well.
If you're interested in what 506 is, unless you are 506, is the Shell station up at 24.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion. Oh, we don't need a motion for that, do
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to March 18th.
we? So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And some talk about 6 Crescent Street.
Right, so I
Actually,
could,
before you want to do it, you guys here for that one? Okay. For 6 Crescent Street, stormwater violation.
so I'll give a quick synopsis and then I'll let John and his engineer.
Yeah.
Number 6 had a septic system repair that was well under 2,700 square feet originally proposed, so it didn't fall under the stormwater bylaw at all. Board of Health went and reviewed it, approved it. I knew nothing of it. Then once the work was actually done, they cleared trees on the lot and did over the 5,000 square foot threshold. I wasn't sure whether it was over the 15, so whether it was a general or administrative. I believed it was administrative. Since then, we've now found out it was over 15,000. It was over almost 17,000 square feet. So it's a general stormwater permit that's going to be required. And I have sent out notification to the property owner. They are in the process of engaging an engineer to do a stormwater filing. So there'll be a public hearing at some point for a general stormwater permit.
So has anything been done other than clearing the trees?
They cleared the trees, they put the septic system in. There's some drainage, we believe, buried underground that doesn't tie into anything that we know of, on any plans. There is water runoff because they changed the elevation. Originally, there was no erosion control on the plans or required.
Nobody said anything about coming to conservation or anything like that?
I have since day one brought this to town officials. I have sent pictures, videos. I was told when it rained, and I sent videos of it pouring in my yard, that it didn't rain.
So you're the neighbor?
No,
You're the,
He is the neighbor.
I am the neighbor.
you're the neighbor, yeah.
He's number 4 Crescent.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This stuff started way back when they first started taking the trees down. Mr. Anderson, what happened was they came in May, and by July, they had wiped out most of the property. And they own Anchor Excavation Company.
Yeah.
So their trucks were coming in day after day, hour after hour, week after week, loading this up. I told everybody, there's town officials that know, they have pictures, they have videos, I have emails, I have phone calls, I have an abundance of information that I have sent out.
Nobody's
I
done
was
anything.
I was told that, so it was brought to their, what happened was I had a surveyor come to my house, I had some engineers come to my home, and they immediately knew. They said, this is way over, first of all, they said, I can't even believe what I'm saying. They said, this is way over the 15,000. Not only that, there's a swale that they insisted they built to work. It works in the opposite direction that it's coming in my yard.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I brought it to the town's attention, and I asked, I pleaded, I sent them all the pictures. They have, believe it, an abundance of pictures, they have videos, everything. And I was pretty much told, first I was told that the pipes were up there. They buried all of their pipes from all of their gutters into the system. Into
Oh,
the
everything
leach
drains
field.
into the leaching
Oh,
field?
yeah, there's a big pit there that with holes. I reported that they have pipes, which I could show you afterwards. I can show you when they put it in, and they said, no one's gonna stop us from doing this. There's not a person that's gonna stop us. All those pipes are buried under all the leaching fields. They weren't issued a cease and desist at all. They were issued a verbal cease and desist, and they were able to continue to finish the job.
Did you issue that? Verbal one?
Originally, what ended up happening was they had no erosion control, so I went out there and said, you need to put erosion control along the property line to control it, because that wasn't part of the plan. And I told them at that point, I said, you need to find out the total square footage.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not sure whether it's administrative or a general, but I said, quickly just looking at it, I believe it's an administrative permit. In the meantime, we've got more information that came in. Another engineer has actually surveyed it, and that's where we found out that it was well over the 15. So it automatically kicked it to a general. So that's where the violation notices is now, and that they need to come up with a plan to address any of the drainage runoff and identify where the roof drains are and how they're gonna deal with any of the roof drain runoff.
I think I'd like to have the engineer talk with you free, and then I'd like to explain some things to you. I brought pictures for each of you, just a little small sample, because I think.
Now, the engineer is For him, or for,
For me.
this is for you, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
This is on the other half.
No,
Yeah,
I
okay.
also
With the
had someone else
trees,
come in and do a plan
is that a
to show
legitimate
that
clear?
where-
Yeah,
where
yeah.
If disrupted.
Just changes the complexion.
I'm Bruce Hagerman from Crossman Engineering in Rough Attleboro. And I just wanted to point out, kind of, these slides kind of give a brief presentation of what happened. And it also at the end kind of highlights our concerns.
So this is the house that, is this yours or the other?
That's the other one.
That's the other, okay.
So the first page shows the mass mapper contours, 1 foot contours of 6 crescent, 4 crescent. And you can see there's a swale that runs right between the houses.
Mhm.
And then once it gets behind the houses, it does kind of flare off and goes into John's backyard and then off-site. So the swale is pretty clear that it straddled the
Pitching-
property line.
Pitching down in the
Pitching
back.
down,
Yeah.
part of it was on 6 crescent, part of it was on 4. The next page shows the septic plan, which they did get approved, which doesn't show any filling in that area.
Which one is that?
No, it's double-sided.
Oh, okay.
Sorry
Does it
about
show
that.
any filling at all?
No,
Yeah,
not on the approved septic plan, not in that area, no. And then the third page shows a Google view of 6 Crescent before construction started. And the swale is right in here where all the vegetation is.
Mhm.
The next slide is a view from the back of 4 Crescent, and you can see how sharply it slopes off from the garage down. And that pretty much matches the contours. It correlates with the contours that are on Mass Mapper. And then the next page shows a picture of 6 Crescent under construction, where you can see they're filling in from the side of the house, side of the garage, towards
Oh, yeah.
John,
Yep.
John's property. And again, the next picture kind of shows where they've filled in the swale on their half of the property. So what that did is it forces all the water onto
Sure.
John's property.
Yeah.
And then further back, where they maybe constructed the dry wells, they created another swale that kind of cuts across the back of the property and is actually diverting more water into John's yard. So that swale wasn't even there before. For whatever reason, they put that in. I'm not sure why, because even before they started construction, water would shed to the back, but now they're cutting that off and diverting it into his property. Then the next slide kind of shows an area on John's property where there was mulch, and because of the increase in runoff, the mulch is gone. And the next picture is the same thing. It's an area that was mulched. The mulch is just washed away.
The house is to the right.
Yes, which page are you on?
This
Right, so 6 Crescent is to the right, and 4, it's a picture of the yard 4.
Okay.
So the second to last page just kind of shows our concerns. They fill in half of the swale on their property, and then there's that swale in the back that's diverting runoff towards John's yard. So those two things are in combination of kind of causing some issues on his property.
Sure.
The dry wells that you mentioned, we think they're buried out here, kind of where that land label is
Yep.
on that sheet. Whether that meets the setback to the septic system or not. We don't know. We're not sure exactly where they're placed.
So was this house, when they did the septic, was there a reason, was there people living in it? Or did they, all of a sudden they just,
The gentleman died and
Oh.
she sold it as is,
oh,
without doing the septic.
so then they just they're doing like an overhaul to everything?
Yeah, that's.
Probably, but most likely gonna sell it.
It's either gonna be flipped, or right now, the owners, the people that did the excavating work, the
Oh, no.
son's living in it
Oh, okay.
currently.
So when did you find out about,
I found out about it in September,
September? Jeez.
when all of the land disturbance started to happen and there was no erosion control. And that's when John gave me the heads up that, hey, something was happening. And that's when I requested that they come up with an administrative stormwater permit that I assumed, because it was under the 15, but it's, now that PMP Associates has done the survey, it's well over, and that's when I informed them that they needed a general stormwater permit to cover the size of the disturbance on the lot.
So that swale that they,
Already.
And that triggered it. I mean, And unfortunately, we've got others of these in town,
Hmm.
similar situations that don't have any wetlands on the properties. So it doesn't trigger the Wetland Protection Act falling in. It's only our local bylaw for stormwater. Ignorance isn't an excuse, but
So they filled
I
in
mean,
the,
unfortunately, local stormwater bylaws, a lot of people don't know that they
Excuse me,
exist.
if I can just say,
yeah, go ahead, yep.
there's no ignorance here. These people have owned, they own a multi-million-dollar excavation company.
Oh, yeah.
They've owned construction companies, they've been debarred from the state from doing state jobs. So let me tell you, I know for a fact exactly, and I'll hit on a few of those things, but mostly, that's not all necessarily the way this happened.
Oh, yeah,
You need
yeah.
to know how this happened.
Yeah.
And I need to let you know. But I've been through,
Well, yeah, we,
Yeah, I mean,
We've
it's
dealt with
clear,
it.
clear to us, I think.
we've dealt with a few things over the last few years about on the weekends, people come in and just do stuff. We've had issues
I
other,
think
and so,
I wouldn't have been so upset had I not made it known. Now, that silt sock, Tim, first of all, they did not secure the leach field when they started digging. They tore into my yard, ripped wires, killed a tree, ripped up my shrubs, then was swearing at me the whole bit. I mean, it's been quite a nightmare, there, okay? I can show you, this all started after, it was in August when I started reporting the land. Even July, actually, when I started reporting it going up, because as you'll see by my pictures, I mean, you look up now. I reported it to different departments, to other people, and I was told everything's fine.
what departments? Did you say?
I reported to the Board of Health the first time I spoke to Mr. Caspi. He told me if you have any problems, go speak to the neighbor. That's been the general consensus when it comes to this particular family. I don't know why. It's very frustrating. Also, not only that, there was a period of time where I spoke to the town planner. I sent her the videos, I sent a lot of things. I had a conversation with both her and Tim at the same time. And I said, please send someone down here because they buried, there was a giant pit. And you'll see from these pictures, they buried from their downspouts all the way to the corner. My fence is this close. And he's saying on my video, no one's gonna stop us. And I have videos of that being, those being buried. I asked, I brought it up over and over again, and I just didn't know what to do because you don't know necessarily who to talk to. So at one point, I was told they were gonna have a cease and desist, and they were told that I guess they said that they were working on a plan with the original engineer, so that's why they were allowed their work to continue, because, that is not the case, because I immediately called the engineer, something that no one else. I called the engineer, had a statement from him here saying that everything that should not have been done on that property, and that was September 3rd.
Everything that should not have been done?
Everything that should not have been done.
You get a hold, you talked to the engineer, or did he come and talk to you?
The property owner had told me they were in contact with the engineer and they were having them work on an as-built and plans as they were moving forward with it. Subsequently, I found out that wasn't the case. There was no as-built, other than the septic design as-built. So the
Right.
stormwater wasn't addressed at all in
But
the
it took me
process.
to call to find out, and for me to get the information and do all my homework, and, to get that type of information. In the meantime, that silt sock that was put down in August. So that's been there the whole time, it has not been effective. I was told that they were gonna put in an application for a storm water, permit afterwards. And, I said, I'd like to know when it is. They had already told me they were not gonna correct anything, they were not gonna do anything for me. And, so Tim wanted me to meet at not a public meeting, it was at a informal meeting, and he would draw on a piece of paper, both houses, with a line in between, and, because they offered to put in a swale, they already have two back into my property. they offered to put in a swale, that, if I went to that meeting, nothing, I didn't have to worry about bringing an engineer or anything else or any other paperwork, it would just be that. And then that would be fine and dandy. I also was told, that the water that's coming into my yard is coming from the street. I videotaped the water pouring down 100 miles an hour, nothing comes in my street. I mean, I have videotapes of everything. I have every phase during construction. I have every call, every email. They finally, I kept asking when there was gonna be a stormwater permit, and I kept asking and asking, and I finally found out in November that there had been one that was done in September, but I can show you, I asked for the application last week, and it's a blank application, not signed by anyone. That's all that was given to me. They said that's all they had. So there's no one signed, no one dated it. It was stamped receipt, and a very basic stormwater was issued, which I've attached to each one for every one of you. That gave them complete control. They've had control over everything. I mean, since the start, I have been told that it's either talk to the Barassos or someone would say to me, we'll have to talk to the Barassos. So basically, that's why I canceled that original meeting, because it was not in my best interest to go, you know. Since then, my yard is so, it gets so bad at falling in. I actually, where they ripped up, it's all erosion. You'll see the pictures and where I've fallen into the ground. And now where my leaching field is over here where the water goes, I'm hearing cracking as I'm walking, and my legs are starting to go in. And that is because of the storm, we think the storm, the pipes that they.
Yeah, so John's septic system is on that side of the house where the swale is. So now that the water's getting pushed over, it could be impacting the septic system.
Well, because the water,
Do you have a septic system, or do you have like a leaching,
or
or like
Probably
a
a pit.
pit?
yeah. because-
So a pit's gonna be worse.
When I bought the property, I questioned that, and I said, this is supposed to be new, and John Cruz told me that it was supposed to be too. And at the time, Doris Height owned the property, so everything just passed. I'm gonna be quite honest with you.
How long you been there?
It was 99, so it should have been,
Yeah, I
definitely
mean-
should have been, after what, 96 should.
Well, we've had test pits come in front of us, and they've been fine,
Yes, it's-
you know, over the years and all that
It passed
stuff.
Title V.
It's just the way
I mean,
they,
I passed.
Yeah.
And I, like I told Rob.
Yeah, there's nothing
I
wrong with
I
it.
have pumped twice a year with the
Right.
septic pump.
But you can,
But this is what bothers me so much, is because I'm so careful
in this
about
picture, you can
everything.
see it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I'm not trying to step on people's toes, but I have got very, the truth be told, this is what has happened. When I'm told by the town planner, if you want this to be resolved, I said, can you send someone down to just look at it? Just look at it. And she said, if you wanna pay an engineer. I asked everyone to come to my property to look at it. Every single person come to my property, just come to my property, not one person. Tim said he drove by on a rainy day, and he saw that it was good. So, Tim, not to put you on the spot, but this is what happened, and this is everything, we have in emails back and forth to each other too. I have to be honest, this is my property, and I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna make things look cozy when they're not.
so when you gave the cease and desist, when was that? And then,
I went out and issued a verbal one to them that they were in the stormwater violation and they needed to have erosion control in
Yeah.
place.
when was that?
And that would have been in September. And they hadn't finished,
Yeah.
they were still working on the septic system at that point. And
Which they should have stopped. right
well,
then.
they should have stopped right then and filed. And when I came back from vacation, I found an application sitting there. Again, it wasn't signed. It was in the office when I came back. And I was under the understanding at that point that there was an engineer involved with an as-built that was gonna pick up
You better-
anything that might have been missed or needed. I hadn't subsequently found out that that wasn't the case, and therefore, once we found out the size disturbance and the amount of trees and coverage, that obviously affects the flow and the runoff. And again, with that swale that's in the back and in the underground, that's just diverting all that water on to the neighbor's property at the back corner,
Never-
instead of channeling it where it should have
Never
gone to
mind
keep it on their own property.
Filling in the swale in the
Well,
beginning.
they
Right.
filled it in.
So that's
with
what-
tier
that's
just to
wetland.
get more land up to
That
the
could be
front.
wetland.
Right,
Right
to
there.
more level area.
In September, I spoke to the engineer, and he informed me of that, and I told everybody that, I told him that he said he had made no provisions for everything. So there was no new as-built, there was no new plan. He told me he was not working with these people. He's told me on 2 occasions, I had 2 emails from him confirming that, and I just kept being told he was working with them. And, it's been really pretty amazing to me.
Who kept on telling you that they've been working, the
Engineer
engineer? What?
said he hasn't been
Oh, the
working on
family
it.
kept on saying that the engineers have been
They
working
were
with you?
telling Tim that the engineer was working.
Tim,
with them.
okay.
And so,
The family
You-
was.
and
So
you
we're
asked them to
here
come in
now,
front of us?
right? And next question is,
should see if we can get him to come in front of us.
well.
Right, so they,
We're
the owner,
working
engineers.
I had
now?
talked to last week, and he is in the
They're
process of
working
hiring an
there now?
engineer to do a stormwater analysis and to come up with an as-built plan for what's on the site currently, and then a completed set of plans to remedy and fix any of the issues that are there, and to file for the public hearing and for the plans, and to get
So
the commission's approval for a general stormwater permit.
So as of right now, that septic, everything in the house, the septic is done, right?
It was done on the 11th, and
Okay.
I was told, Tim was gonna issue them a cease and desist on the 3rd.
Yeah.
It was given on the 11th, that's the day that they seeded the grass. So,
And then by the time I ended up with an as-built or anything close to it that didn't have anything showing just from the septic, the seeding had been done, the seed was up, and at that point, if we had gone and started digging, it would have been into winter with open exposed ground, which would have been even a worse situation than what's sitting there now.
right. So they're not working there.
They're not working, there's
They're
nothing
done.
else being
there's
done,
nothing to be.
but they-
There's nothing to be done yet.
they need to figure out a corrective measure
So
for,
what we should do is we should get them in front of us, have them come with a plan with the engineer, see what they have to say, and then we'll see if we can we'll tell them what we want to get done so it won't affect
Right.
the next door neighbor. And hopefully it'll bring back to what the water should be flowing the way it should be flowing and not affecting any of,
Well,
I mean, and if,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, is that cease and desist that you gave back in September, I think they should pay a fine from 5-6 months, has it been? Till they come in.
Plus, they breached they destroyed, I mean, they tore
Well, I
down
mean-
those wires.
I
So
mean-
I think that's my opinion on what the board.
that might be
But-
like a separate lawsuit perhaps.
Yeah, that's some of that stuff. It's
It
not,
might be a
it's not,
separate, it may not
separate.
be
It's not.
appropriate, but what is.
Right now, all we're worrying about is just with the water and what they did to,
And
Get-
that's
get the water
allowed
correct and
get the
to run
engineering
the show.
done properly.
remediation, stormwater remediation. plan.
yeah. So we'll just have to, is there any signs of when the next meeting for them to come in, or have they got?
I will make a
Okay.
phone call tomorrow. I talked with them on Thursday last week, and they were waiting to hear back from their engineer to find out if he was gonna do the work. If he wasn't willing to do the work, they were gonna find another engineering firm to do the work for them. So it's something they know, and they wanna get it done. So
They do. What's a reasonable amount of,
I mean,
I
I
have no idea.
I would give them another week,
Yeah.
and they should be able to have an engineering firm at least hired.
Just-
I know engineers,
Yeah.
we're busy. I think they're
that's-
freeing
this
us
is the
up a little
problem.
bit, so
This is
it
just
shouldn't
some
take all that
pictures
long.
from
I
before.
mean, to get the remediation plan done, it might be necessary. I would go.
Right.
Of the property.
And
I have.
by spring season, I don't wanna see this go into April. This needs to get resolved within the next 4 weeks.
Well, I mean,
Could be done.
yeah.
This is,
They filling in that swale, is that wetland you figure?
No, there was no wetlands on the
There
property.
wasn't?
It was just a swale between the two pieces of property that now basically push it
This
onto
is
one
the
property.
You can see, this
I
is
guess
what
you
it
can
looked
fill a
like
swale as
before.
long as it doesn't affect anything.
Right,
but
and that's
the
just it. They
question. Yeah.
affected the water
Well,
runoff.
I was told that I was told the swale was put there so I could have their water. They didn't want their water.
Well, yeah,
Well, they don't have the right to direct,
Yeah, exactly.
whatever that.
So,
that's right, yeah.
sorry, I'm just being honest. This is.
No, I mean, that's the way, I mean,
If you see, the foundation right here, when they were done filling, which I'll show you, everything's up here. That's what the side looked like.
so in the trees that they took down, you know how many trees they took down?
They took down at least, it went on for 2 weeks. They took down, just about the entire woods. They took down probably
Just to expand
40 or 50.
the backyard.
Is that to be able to fit the septic in the backyard, or they just did
They had
that
to take
just?
a few for the septic, which maybe one or two,
So then they just
but
basically
then they
did
just
more
wanted
than
a
they
bigger
should.
backyard.
Well, then not,
And which
Well,
they
she-
can do, it's their property, they could clear cut it. if
as
they
long,
wanted.
as long as it's not wetland.
Right, there's no wetlands on the property at all.
Well, okay.
So,
This
I
is-
mean,
Just taking the trees down.
This is
right,
the-
they took the
That's what
trees
it looked like
down
before
and then
the trees.
changed the grade and brought the grade up. And by bringing the grade up,
Then the
that's
game
just,
changed, yeah.
right.
This is what
Had not disturbed the land or anything, our bylaw, and it unfortunately wouldn't have been affected, but at least it has been affected so that there is
Well,
made
shouldn't
this
go
one
any
to you.
further,
That's when
you
they
know,
started
to,
filling
for
it.
John,
You can
with the
see
bylaw
it.
being in
Boy.
place to
Yes, sir.
actually
And
have to do a general stormwater permit. So it,
This is bigger.
So, it was naturally higher, right, but the swale took care of everything?
The swale took care of everything.
Because it looks like it was always higher
So the
up.
swale was, say, 20 feet wide.
Yeah,
That was
and it
5
carried
feet
it.
wide on all
Yeah.
of his side.
So that was really the problem
Yeah.
beginning then?
And then that was the first
And then
issue.
They
Whatever
brought a dry, they put a
underground
driveway.
drain system is there.
Yeah, but then they created that swale in the backyard.
So that
where
went
the
up
water-
about.
Yeah, yeah.
It
uh,
channeled it across,
It
right.
makes no
this
sense.
Makes no
one
sense,
they-
why would you
this
do
is-
that?
Instead of grading it just to the backyard and letting it
This
just,
is the pit that was left.
And they're supposed to be a big
That's
company.
where they started putting things in. I made some quantities.
Well, certainly if it goes beyond us into some civil area, you've got lots of things here.
I certainly do, but for the fact that nothing was done about it the whole time and it was allowed to happen,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done pretty much as I'm gonna do. I expect the town to do what they need to do too.
Well,
This is.
we'll definitely try to do,
Beyond
We're-
our
we're
purview,
gonna-
but
to do to our best of,
I mean, not that I'm not trying to be.
no, I mean, I don't blame you.
I mean, you know.
I'd be pissed
this
off
is-
too.
I'm pissed because of the way that it was done, the way that it was.
I hear you on that one.
This is a copy from the engineer where he states what was not supposed to be in the plans.
were there ever any plans? Or did they just
Only for
kind
the
of,
septic.
go for it?
It was kind of, yeah, they winged it after the fact.
This
They
was the
can
day
find
that I
this.
was told we can do anything we want. This was the pipes being, my fence is here. These drains go all the way up to the house.
Yeah.
Way up to the house.
Well, it's like that. Unfortunately, yeah, they can do whatever they want to do on their property, but when they direct the water to somebody else's,
Right.
that's when something changes. But if they want to run all the pipes
That's
they want to
fine.
do, that's fine.
Yeah, if they want to put roof drains.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want, but you put a big tank in the back, fill up, and use it for sprinklers if they want, but they can't direct it into somebody else's property.
And this is what happened.
Jesus, getting overwhelmed. Well, you got enough stuff here.
Well, you know, I've had a lot of time to, this is how it's pitched now.
Yeah.
You can see, this is one of the swales, how it goes right down.
If anything, you think they would have directed the swale
And as
straight
you
out
said,
back.
they weren't particularly nice
part of
to
what-
you.
plan was originally was to have their
Particularly
engineer
nice to you.
design a
I-
swale that went the whole
It
length
was
of the
pretty-
property
It was pretty bad.
and that was gonna be
Sorry, I can't see your
installed
name, Mr.
as soon as the
McGrath.
ground
That's
thawed
the
this
power.
spring.
that's
Yeah,
on the
because I would
permit.
try to
And
be,
that was the intent, was to have a swale
I wasn't
recreated,
even gonna make them
basically on
pay
their
for my
property,
Yeah.
to keep all their
beautiful
water
tree that they destroyed, and then he
channeled all the way
started
down.
taking hard time, and I
But the
just took
swale
some money for
that
that.
they
This
created
is
at the end of the
how high-
septic system that swings all
That's
the
high.
drainage
Wow,
off,
yeah.
and the underground roof drains.
Yep.
We don't know where they go or how much contributing factor that is
Yep.
to the amount of water that's getting shed on the
It's
number
not a
4.
huge
And
rule.
so that's why the engineer needs to do his stormwater calcs to actually come up with.
Well, we can certainly understand why you're upset.
And this is just some more, just shows how,
Mhm.
this was all ripped up, my shrubs, and it's just, and now I fall in when it's
So they
wet.
just came on your property and ripped up your shrubs?
They had there was any time there was at least 10 machines out there for weeks ripping, this was the,
Yeah.
this is, everything was gone, and I fell in. And then when I asked him to fill it, he said, if you don't shut up, we won't fill it, so they filled it with sand.
Nice.
Well, you certainly got something else going on for you if you wanna take it a little further.
I don't have the money to have a $5,000.
No, I know, I
I
understand.
wish, this is the stamped but not filled out plan.
Oh, yeah,
That was already there.
not signed, not nothing.
So I have one of those for each of you. And, these are the pictures of all the water. I need each a copy. You can see, that's nothing. I agree with it flooding my property. I had to come prepared.
No, I don't blame you.
I can't, when you go in your own yard and you fall into mud,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty disturbing. And that's the video showing.
Yeah.
Build up.
It's interesting that supposedly they're contractors, right? That,
That's
the
when they know they can get away
15,000
with-
foot requirement should be, I wouldn't say second nature, but they should be aware of that.
But
as
sometimes when they're
contractors.
doing it for themselves and weekend comes, they do it. We've had that happen plenty of times.
Yeah,
Well, I wouldn't mind, but they said basically, we're gonna do what I want, no one's gonna stop us.
Yeah.
well, that's what's
And-
get you upset, sure.
And, I tried to,
Yeah.
wanted you to have what I could give you. And since we explained my position, because, when we met last week, we talked about what happens in a certain case like this, because if they are not compliant, since they have not complied, that Tim said oftentimes the town will pay for an engineer
Yep.
and have someone do the actual work that's competent, because, I don't know, that's what was agreed, that's what you mentioned, I know it's up to you people. I appreciate you being here and listening to me, because
No.
there's no other way to
I totally understand.
vent, and I'm glad that Tim's on board now with getting the stuff done and, making them,
Well, that's what we're here for too, to help, try to help as much as we can.
and I appreciate it very much.
Well, I think if it were me, I'd be as upset.
Oh, of course.
And I'm a gardener, it brings me joy. And when I actually fell in up to here, was the day that and my dog Wyatt, my dog was running around, and his Wyatt, it was a thing
Oh,
was
yeah.
out, and the father told me that.
Yeah.
Excuse my phone.
No, that's fine.
That's, it was very so unpleasant.
No, I don't blame you. Well, hopefully, be interested to see what they have to say and what,
So I'll reach out tomorrow and find out what the status
the
is
plans
with them
are.
and their engineer, and if they haven't been able to hire, then I'll just send them the list of engineers that we've used and say, here, pick one off of this list.
Yep.
And-
Can you give them a date?
And you need to, and I'm gonna tell them that I expect the deadline filings I expect a filing for the 18th of March.
Yep.
And that way at least they can get the filing in and preliminarily have something. They may not have a full set of engineered plans by then, but at least there'll be a filing on record and they'll have the process started. And then we'll at least have contact information and stuff that,
I
of
mean,
an
the
engineer.
engineer may come, they may not, but
Right.
I would imagine they
Well,
It's hard to say.
we'll see. Maybe we can get some, yeah, we'll see what happens.
And the engineer can have the work done by the next meeting?
No.
No?
No, I just because of the dates and timeframes, so the 18th would be our,
But they've committed by the 18th.
right, submitted for a hearing on the 18th.
Okay.
They won't make,
Which, of course, you're welcome.
they won't make the March 4th
And if you
deadline,
don't wanna be here, you
Oh,
can watch
March
it on
4th,
TV.
yeah.
would be our next
Right.
hearing.
So the one
Right.
after that, okay.
No, that's fine, I'm just saying, but if,
And I do appreciate that, because maybe I'd be better off watching it. on-
maybe, man,
Yeah.
I feel as though that I'm in good hands.
Oh.
I was welcomed by Carol tonight, said
Yeah.
that it's important for you, I can tell that, very much,
You
you're
know,
listening to me.
we're all residents here, you know, so
Hey.
we'd feel the same
You're
way.
long-time residents, I know.
Yeah.
Your grandmother was my.
she was on the board too.
Your great-grandmother, my first grade teacher, you know?
Oh, okay. Good to know. All right.
It's changing, but we're
Long time
trying to
ago.
do things the right way.
Well, we'll see what we can get accomplished by next,
You did all this for us?
If I'll
Well, by
have an
the 18th.
update for next meeting, but I wouldn't expect a public hearing until the 18th.
yeah,
Okay.
so, and just call anytime and just, if you got any questions, I mean, Tim can update you on the next meeting or
Yeah.
if there's any updates. So, yeah, I mean, thanks for coming in and letting us know what's going on and hopefully we can do something for you and
And there is a cease and desist now.
it's
Well,
been since September. Well, we can see, maybe we can do something about that too.
But hopefully we can get a plan in place so that as soon as the spring thaw happens, they can get it remediated.
well, I
Before
guess
the
if
heavy
you saw
rains.
them working, you call right away.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Try to have a good,
Thank you.
Sorry it all came to this.
try to have a good,
Thanks for being here tonight.
I think,
good next few days or
think you're.
till the
on
next meeting, hopefully you can just
I'll
relax.
let you know when I'm back tomorrow. Nope, you're good. Nope, you're fine.
But, yeah, feel free to come in or just, well, you can say, watch it on TV. So,
And you can still talk
Be
Yeah.
well.
if you're on,
if you, yeah, you
if you're on
I think
TV.
you probably heard enough of me.
can, no, no problems
You didn't make
whatsoever.
me feel that way.
No.
I really mean.
I'd rather hear from.
How have
everyone,
you been doing
Thank
through
you so
all of
much.
this?
Yeah.
Hold on the best we can. You gotta live next to these people.
Well, she's
I know.
living with me too, because she says every time a commercial comes on, it starts.
Yeah,
Stop talking about it again.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
all right.
have a good night, guys. All right, so we'll get some sign.
I just have a few warrant items to sign, and other than that, that's all I had.
All right.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh, I just signed the top one. Were the ones that more after?
Nope,
It was just the
that's
one?
fine, yep.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
You
You
too.
too.
Later.
Take care now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Dreams and Solutions Winter Forum. You're probably a member
Yeah,
before.
yeah, and it's, I got
Well,
a ton of my
basically,
pesticide credits there, and there was a,
field is my backyard.
an
Look at
interesting-
those, really very
an interesting
interesting.
FYI that the EPA has come out with a new,
Yeah, I know
that, yeah.
endangered species requirement,
Speaking just as a town
for
resident,
pesticide applications.
I'd like to see them.
So
move
I'm not sure how it's
slow.
gonna affect rights of way,
Oh.
treatments, but anything that's within an endangered zone, they've got a federal mapping
Yeah,
system
well,
now that is in play, so.
well. Yeah, right. Well, actually,
All
there
right.
was a majority, but
That's all I had.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.